Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the dceu MCU Movies TV Daily. And let's get started. Brandon Routh has looked into a Kingdom Come Superman series. Wow, how exciting is this, DC fans? By Russ Burlingame, wow, interesting name, of Comic Book. I hate pop-ups, don't you? After the disappointment of 2006's Superman Returns, I wasn't disappointed. Brandon Routh assumed he would never get to play the Man of Steel again. That opportunity arose in the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths event, where Routh played an iteration of his character whose background had taken a dark turn. Influenced by the hit 1997 comic Kingdom Come, the story revealed that Joker had murdered almost everyone at the Daily Planet in a gas attack, including Lois Lane, and Superman had been forced to live with that tragedy. Unlike in the comics, he didn't retire, and rather than its black background field being a symbol of mourning, in this version Superman explains that the Kingdom Come Superman logo represents that even in the darkest times, hope cuts through. Hope is the light that leads us out of darkness. I actually loved that. Normally the CW Arrowverse is very corny, but I think Berlanti and company did a good job with that framing. His take on an older, more haunted Superman, who nevertheless remained identifiable, Superman, rather than disappearing into grief and rage, thinking Justice or season 1 of Superman and Lois, of the nightmare scenes in the Zack Snyder movies, connected to many fans. After Crisis, one of the big questions was whether there was any chance of getting more of Ralph's take on the character. Ralph told Comic Book that he would absolutely reprise the role as Superman, given the story is the right story and Superman portrayed in the way that I see Superman. I was absolutely always interested in that. I have made my own investigations about the possibility of Superman of something like that. Right now, the truth is that we're flush with Superman stuff. With the success of Superman and Lois, Tyler's doing as awesome job on that. And then there's a couple of scripts and stuff going around for features, I think in different iterations at Warner Bros. Even if it looks unlikely to happen right now, Ralph doesn't rule out the possibility of doing it a few or a bunch of years down the road. After all, to make him look significantly older for Crisis, they had to fake the grey hair. It's not like he doesn't have a little margin for error when returning to that version of the character. I don't know what all the plans are, but I do know that Flashpoint is coming out, and that is opening up that world, Ralph said, referring to 2022's film iteration of The Flash, which will bring back Michael Keaton as Batman. When that happens, and with, I suppose, the success of that opens up other opportunities, just like Mark Guggenheim did with Crisis on Infinite Earths. You can have multiple Supermen, and it works. That experiment is actively in process and hasn't been tested yet on the feature film side. But I think that's what maybe they're gearing up for. It's hard to say what the next few years will bring, but where I used to say I didn't think I'd ever play Superman again, having been able to play him again in Crisis, now I say the sky's the limit. Who knows? You know what I think about this. I love Brandon, I love Superman Returns. It's not without its flaws. Nothing made by human hands is not without its flaws. Let's get that straight. Nothing is perfect, even the stuff we stand, right? I think he's in Flashpoint, and he's talking like this obviously because he can't tell you or me he's in Flashpoint. But yeah, he's right. Flashpoint brings up these worlds of DC. You know, so many different iterations of these same iconic DC characters and universes. He will be in Flashpoint for sure. Ralph is appearing in the 5-part Armageddon storyline on The Flash, reprising his role as scientist, superhero and former legend Ray Palmer. Episodes air on Tuesday at 8 PM. So yeah, a pretty cool article. I like that. I like what Brandon had to say. And I think, yes, the Flash movie, Andy Muschietti's Flashpoint movie, does bring out this potential of multiple Supermen. We're seeing it in Spider-Man No Way Home, which we'll be talking about very, very shortly. So it's very, very exciting. I still say, you know, why not adapt the Superman 78 graphic novel that we're getting right now as well. That would be exciting because it's a great story for the OG Superman. And by the way, if you didn't know, he is the OG Superman. He is Christopher Reeve's live-action Superman, so it all works out. We'll just have to wait and see. Also in the DC Extended Cinematic Universe, there was another Restore the Snyderverse event over on Twitter. It went very well. Again, we trended. It's amazing, really, with all this support for Snyder's universe to continue and Warner Brothers still being opposed to it. What kind of business refuses money? But this is what happens when personal battles, you know, when personal characters clash, and it's more about that than the business side and about what your consumer wants, you're in a bit of trouble. But at the end of the day, nothing's off the table. It's still there, and Discovery and David Zaslav are watching. Tom Holland tears up after watching Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Tom Holland had a tearful reaction to the latest trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home during a special trailer launch event for the upcoming MCU movie. I thought there was going to be surprises at that event. I'm assuming the surprises was Tom Holland being there. Apart from that, there wasn't any surprises. But they've got to sell the thing, right? By Nathan Graham Lowry of Screen Rant. Tom Holland had a tearful reaction to the latest trailer for Spider-Man No Way Home during a special launch event for the upcoming MCU movie. The actor reprises his role of Peter Parker Spider-Man in the upcoming co-production between Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures. Holland returns alongside Zendaya, Jacob Batalon and Marissa Tomei, with Benedict Cumberbatch, Alfred Molina, William Dafoe and Jamie Foxx reprising their roles from previous Marvel movies. Spider-Man No Way Home sees Peter Parker facing one of his greatest challenges yet, with his identity revealed to the public after being framed for the death of Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal. We'll get into that. I think after this article, I don't think he's dead, Mysterio, by the way. By the way, I think this was a plan from the beginning from Mysterio. He wanted this to happen, and I think he is the one who's going to get all these villains together from different aspects and elements from the multiverse. During the events of Spider-Man Far From Home, Parker takes drastic action and enlists Doctor Strange, Cumberbatch, to wipe the world's collective memories of him. However, Parker calls the spell to misfire. I think this is a terrible idea to kind of enact a multiversal kind of disaster. I think when you think about the Flashpoint story, Barry's actually going to bring his mum back to life. You can understand the motivations. Oh, I was talking during his spell. Is that all it takes for Doctor Strange to fuck up? Or, for some reason, did Doctor Strange do this on purpose? But I have another Doctor Strange theory. In a minute. Bringing previous movie Spider-Man villains from across the multiverse into the main Marvel Cinematic Universe, with director John Watts comparing the film to Avengers Endgame. Spider-Man No Way Home is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious Marvel movies and a huge undertaking for its cast and crew. Shared in a YouTube video by Collider Extras, Holland spoke to fans at an event celebrating the launch of the latest trailer, where Screen Rant was also in attendance. Taking to the stage in Los Angeles, Holland admitted to tearing up when watching the latest trailer. Holland then reflected on his time in the role that he has portrayed since he was 18, before saying Spider-Man No Way Home is the most cinematic and theatrical superhero movie that has ever been made. Well, calm down, mate, calm down. Why don't you ask Zendaya, who was actually involved in one of the most cinematic theatrical movies ever made in June? Come off it, mate. Taking pride in the work put into the film, Holland told the audience that seeing their enthusiasm meant the world to him, thanking them for their dedication. Check out the video below. Holland recently opened up about how Spider-Man improved his self-confidence, revealing in an interview that playing the superhero helped him learn to stand up for himself and take more joy in his fame, finding confidence in the role. Holland was cast in the role in 2015, making his debut in Captain America Civil War and starring as the character across three following movie let's say that again. Captain America Civil War and starring as the character across three following movies prior to No Way Home. Holland views the film as the conclusion to Peter Parker's story that began in Spider-Man Homecoming, saying that he and the cast treated the film as the end of the franchise. Interesting. Now, you do know, because he's saying it's the end of the franchise, probably means it isn't. But he has admitted that things will change after this. That's true. But he will be involved somehow, somewhere. With Holland's role of Peter Parker launching the actor into wider worldwide recognition and taking up a large part of his career, by the way, Tom Holland could be the next Doctor Who. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, I just threw that out there in a DCEU, MCEU movies TV daily video. But hey, think about that. Holland's reaction is understandable and shared by many fans. The actor's portrayal of the character has become widely beloved by fans, with Holland becoming a generation definitive Spider-Man. Though Feige assures there's no risk of Marvel Studios and Sony falling out, fans are wary of the character's future in the MCU. For now, they look forward to seeing Holland face off against iconic incarnations of the character's foes from the past when Spider-Man No Way Home releases on December the 17th. Very exciting. Here's a hot take for you. Dr. Stephen Strange isn't actually in Spider-Man No Way Home. What does this lunatic Mick, who nobody watches or listens to, what is he talking about? Well, what if Mysterio is actually been hiding and disguised as Doctor Strange all this time? Now, I don't know if he has this ability, but this is Mysterio. So Mysterio could have been doing this all this time. He could have Doctor Strange prisoner somewhere. He could have dumped him in another multiverse. I don't know if he's... Again, I don't know his comic book origins, but he could be capable of this. And I think this is why, Doctor Strange didn't get the spell wrong because Peter interrupted him. He always wanted to do this. He always wanted to open up the multiverse for all these villains to come through. This has been Mysterio's plan all the time, and that's why Feige set him up in Spider-Man Far From Home. Isn't it interesting, though, when people talk about DC superhero movies, Batman vs Superman, overcrowded, Batman Returns, overcrowded. Hey, Spider-Man No Way Home's got all these, pre-existing villains. Oh my God, this is so great. It's so really funny. And also people bitching about Tobey Maguire being kind of scrubbed out of the trailer somehow, using special effects. So what? So what? Do you know they've left clues in there for you on purpose? They haven't made any mistakes. You're not clever. You're not smart. This is part of their fucking marketing plan. Don't you get it? They leaked that Toby and Andy were in this film from the very beginning. That's it. Surely you understand that. Oh my God, who's seen this new Matrix poster, Matrix 4 poster? Wow, it is so cool, isn't it? Matrix Resurrections poster Neo unites with new and returning characters. The new poster for the Matrix Resurrections reunites Neo and Trinity in their classic leather outfits, alongside faces both familiar and new by Brennan Klein of Screen Rant. A brand new poster for the Matrix Resurrections shows Neo and the rest of the main cast looking effortlessly cool. Resurrections, which is the fourth Matrix movie, was directed by Lana Wachowski, the first entry in the franchise she has directed without her sister Lily, who declined to join the project. It comes nearly 2 decades after the previous entry, The Matrix Revolutions, which premiered in... Is it Revolutions? The Matrix Revolutions, which premiered in 2003. Listen, I'm excited for this movie. I love the Matrix previous 3 movies, and I know most people only like the first movie. But I have no idea if this movie is actually going to be any good or if it's just a bad cash grab, which a lot of these things are these days. The Matrix Resurrections will follow Keanu Reeves returning as Neo, who has seemingly lost all his memories of the events of the original trilogy. Jada Pinkett Smith will also be back as Niobe, while Carrie-Anne Moss returns as Trinity. Joining them are Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Jessica Henwick, Christina Ricci, Jonathan Groff, Neil Patrick Harris, Priyanka Chopra, Jonas and more. The film will debut in theatres and simultaneously on HBO Max for the first month of release, on December 22nd, 2021. On the official Twitter account for The Matrix Resurrections, they shared a brand new poster for the film. Surrounded by an atmosphere of the traditional green Matrix code, Neo and Trinity are back in their classic leather ensembles, joined by both new and returning characters from the franchise. The tagline reads, "Return to the source," continuing the theme of the coming full circle that has appeared throughout the film's promotional material. Check out the full-size poster below. Wow, this is so awesome. Wonder if we can click on this. No? Alright, let's just look at it. That is just so fucking awesome, isn't it? So fucking... I love this poster. By the way, Sony, Disney and Marvel Studios, this is a fucking cool poster, right? Why don't you come to WB and learn how it's done? Even though The Matrix Resurrections continually drops first look images in addition to the many iterations of its teaser and the official trailer, the plot is still largely unknown. The poster doesn't indicate anything fans wouldn't already have assumed about the plot of the film, though it does show that the iconic imagery of the franchise is still as striking as ever. Even 22 years after the original film's release, the slick and stylish look of the characters remains potent, and one place where the image strays from the established aesthetics is perhaps its most intriguing. The first Matrix was groundbreaking. The effects, how they shot it, it was groundbreaking. But this wasn't just a visual delight. The actual film itself is fucking awesome. Awesome characters, an awesome concept, an awesome idea. It asks you to think about the very world we live in and what's real and what's not. And many conspiracy theorists started actually believing in the shit Morbius was spouting. I'm not saying you were wrong to have those conspiracy theories. I'm a guy who sits here day in, day out thinking about what's real and what's possible and what's not. There's nothing wrong with that. In the Matrix Resurrections poster, everyone is clad in Matrix black except Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who will be playing an alternate version of Morpheus, the character originally portrayed by Lawrence Fishburne instead. He's wearing a brightly coloured suit that is perhaps meant to reflect the different coloured pills he offers to Neo in the original movie. Fishburne's iteration of the character traditionally wore black leather in the original trilogy as well. So this new costume could be a clue as to the nature of the new... as to the nature of the new Morpheus. I want you to be careful of this film though, because this is another film where we've been warned by the director, is it Lana, that they're looking to represent the world we live in today, which they're all doing. And I think if I've got time at the end of this video, I want to talk about the culture war in entertainment, and mostly focus in the culture war in Hollywood, and explain to you, coming from their point of view, why they're obsessed with kind of toxic masculinity. You know, toxic masculinity is the #1 thing they have commentary on in their movies and TV shows. And if you're a man, it's kind of difficult to take. They've made it literally impossible for us to watch the stuff they're making. We're the customers who actually pay. We're the ones that will buy the merch, the posters, everything, right? The Blu-rays, the DVDs, you know, spend a monthly subscription on their streaming services, but they hate their own customers. And I'll tell you why at the end of this video. Make of this what you will. Spider-Man No Way Home trailer release celebrated by Insomniac Games. Marvel's Spider-Man and Marvel's Wolverine developer Insomniac Games shared a lot of enthusiasm for the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer by Cade Onda or whatever, sorry I can't get your name right, of Screen Rant. With the premiere of the second and final Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, Marvel's Spider-Man developer Insomniac Games has taken to social media to celebrate. The highly anticipated Spider-Man trailer confirms the appearance of a handful of returning Spider-Man villains, such as William Dafoe's Green Goblin and Jamie Foxx's Electro, causing speculation that Spider-Man alums Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would also be returning. Imagine if they actually don't. They obviously are, but it'd just be funny, wouldn't it? The trailer's reveal was quite an affair, with Sony Pictures even hosting a fan event in Los Angeles. November is already shaping up to be a big month for Marvel's iconic hero, with not only the No Way Home trailer, but also Spider-Man's arrival in Crystal Dynamics' Marvel's Avengers, scheduled for November the 30th. Tickets for the film will go on sale that same day, leading to Sony dubbing November the 30th as Spider Monday. That's a good marketing ploy, isn't it? When Spidey joins Earth's mightiest heroes, the character will be fully playable with his own cut scenes and story mission, though Marvel's Avengers Spider-Man is a PlayStation exclusive hero, because it's Sony, obviously. And that's why Disney will never ever be owned by Sony. No, let me say that again. Sony will never be owned by Disney. Never. They're such a huge company. People were saying they're in trouble a few years back. Disney were trying to buy them. Forget it. Never going to happen. There's more chance of Sony buying Disney than Disney buying Sony, as nuts as that sounds. Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales developer Insomniac Games expressed excitement for the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Multiple times shortly after its premiere on November the 17th, despite Insomniac Games being standalone releases unconnected to the movies, the developer has paid tribute to the MCU iteration of the Wallcrawler in the past, with this time being no different, retweeting the trailer before jumping into the comments to share the excitement with fans. Insomniac said, "Let's go!" When asked by a Twitter user if the developer was excited, the official account responded, "Heck yes," while replying to another with an eager Breaking Bad gif. "We started getting visitors," this was what the official Spider-Man No Way Home account said, "from every universe. Watch the official trailer, blah blah blah, all that, so we don't care about that," and now I've clicked onto it, which was stupid. And then someone goes, "Hype train doesn't stop. December 17th, next up, Spider-Man 2 from Guys. Insomniac Games, nothing stops this train." So there's a lot of hype. And then obviously someone who doesn't even have a profile picture goes, "Insomniac, you excited? Heck yeah." Needless to say, there's a lot of love for the character at Insomniac, with Marvel's Spider-Man featuring a number of costumes from not only the MCU version of the character, but also the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield films as well. Insomniac Games is currently hard at work on the recently revealed Marvel Spider-Man 2 featuring Venom and Kraven the Hunter as the primary antagonist. Little else is known about the game beyond the fact it will release in 2023 on the PS5, but there will be plenty of Spidey content between now and then. Spider-Man No Way Home will release this December, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2 is scheduled for an October 2022 release. That's huge. And isn't this why we're getting Spider-Man No Way Home the way it's going to be with Tobey and Andy and the rest of them? Because of this animated classic. So the sequel is going to be very, very interesting. Will they leave Miles Morales to the animated world and not have him ever in the live-action world? Well, that would be a mistake, in my opinion. While there's a chance that Peter Parker will show up in other Marvel movies, there won't be any major appearances from Insomniac's version of the character for a while. The character currently exists within his own universe and similarly has no plans to cross over with any characters outside of those made by the developer. Until more news comes from Insomniac, there's always the Marvel's Avengers Spider-Man event this month. For those who own the game on PlayStation, whether or not the hero will play a prominent role in Marvel's Avengers future remains to be seen. But if not, there aren't any known games where the web slinger could pop up before 2023. So there you go, there's that. And really, this is more of another hint as well, isn't it? Because they keep on mentioning Miles Morales. I'm convinced he's in this movie. Tom Holland might quit Spider-Man to make way for MCU Miles Morales. There you go again. He's purposely talking about him. Feige's told him to do this. This tells me that Tom's not quitting, but Miles Morales is going to be here to take over sooner rather than later. Tom Holland might quit Spider-Man to make way for MCU Miles Morales. Spider-Man No Way Home star Tom Holland says he might quit playing the popular superhero so Marvel can make a Miles Morales MCU movie. By Alexander Harrison of Screen Rant. Tom Holland says he might quit playing Spider-Man to make way for Miles Morales to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The English actor has played the popular superhero since 2016's Captain America Civil War and has earned significant acclaim for his performance, becoming a globally recognisable movie star in the process. His next appearance will be in Spider-Man No Way Home, which is scheduled to hit theatres worldwide on December the 17th. While Holland's friendly neighbourhood hero has been an especially light MCU character, with his solo films often mining his naivety for comedy, this next project looks to cultivate a decidedly different tone. The story picks up following the public unveiling of his secret identity, and an attempt at a magical solution from Doctor Strange results in a swarm of villains from previous Spider-Man movie franchises crashing into the MCU. While he's confident it's the best of his films, which wouldn't be hard, let's be honest, Holland has warned fans that No Way Home is dark and sad, taking Peter Parker in a more serious direction than any of the previous appearances have so far, but they still laugh at Doc Ock's name, right? So it's still got the comedy. While it's currently unclear that this shift will mean for the... While it's unclear what this shift will mean for the character's MCU future, Holland himself isn't entirely sure there should be one. In a profile for GQ, which quotes producer Amy Pascal as wanting him to make 100 more Spider-Man movies, oh dear, he's fucked then. That means he'll never make 100 Spider-Man movies. He wonders if it isn't time for him to move on from the superhero franchise, including introducing Miles Morales' version of the web slinger. Holland muses might be the best thing for everyone. Maybe it's time for me to move on. Maybe that's best for Spider-Man, is that they do a Miles Morales film. I have to take Peter Parker into account as well, because he's an important part of my life. If I'm playing Spider-Man after I'm 30, I've done something wrong. It's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously, as all actors want to do, they want to test themselves. The actors playing superheroes today haven't allowed themselves to be typecast mostly, and are able to go around playing other roles. You know, Tom's done it himself, doing more serious roles for Apple TV Plus and things like that. People criticising him for taking these serious roles. You did nothing wrong, Tom. These people are nut jobs. The Miles iteration of Spider-Man debuted on the page in 2011 and recently made his first appearance on the silver screen in the 2018 animated movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. The character has proven very popular with fans, with Into the Spider-Verse received particular praise for its handling of his Afro-Puerto Rican background. Marvel has already laid the groundwork to include him in the MCU, with Spider-Man Homecoming including a brief exchange between Peter and the character's uncle, Aaron Davis, played by Donald Glover. Do you remember that? They fed that in for a reason. That's what fake does. While audiences would probably love to see Morales make his MCU debut, few are likely to want Holland to depart the franchise so soon, though he sounds by no means certain he'll leave Spider-Man behind after No Way Home. The 25-year-old clearly doesn't intend to spend the rest of his career in the role that made him a household name, with the actor already making moves to test the flexibility of his movie star image. That he frames the decision as considering what's best for the Spider-Man films rather than his own career is just the latest example why Marvel fans have embraced him so completely. And whenever he does choose to hang up the super suit, viewers will be hoping he gets the Cap or Iron Man-esque send-off he deserves. It's interesting. I don't know what they're going to do. I kind of theorised yesterday maybe they'll kill him off or trap him on another Earth, and Miles Morales comes in the central kind of universe. Because I think Miles comes from another universe, doesn't he? But that's not true, is it? Because we've already met his father or uncle, as they said, played by Donald Glover. So that can't be a thing. Or is it? Does Miles Morales actually, exist in this universe already? I have no idea. I'm convinced he's going to be in this film. Now, if they did want him to take over from Tom, what you might see at the beginning of the film is a Miles Morales-centric opening 10 minutes, which would pretty much make Miles more of a lead than Tom's character. Interestingly, they could do that. I would love that. So if he, look, we've had 3 live-action, awesome versions of Peter Parker thus far. It's time for Miles Morales, right? Come on. We talk about representation and inclusion. Well, if we want to do that, let's bring Miles into the live-action universe. Tom Holland quotes with great power line at Spider-Man event. Appearing at the Spider-Man No Way Home fan event in Los Angeles, Tom Holland answers questions from the audience with Spider-Man's iconic line by Anna Damarog of Screen Rant. Tom Holland used an iconic Spider-Man line to answer a question during a Spider-Man No Way Home fan event. A month before the John Watts and Tom Holland film hit theatres, its second trailer was finally released at an event in Los Angeles on November the 16th. Knowing full well how much fans have been anticipating fresh footage for the Spider-Man prequel, Sony decided to make a big moment out of the reveal by organising a live watch party. Spider-Man No Way Home's first trailer was released back in late August, laying the movie's premise, including how it connects to Spider-Man Far From Home and Peter's outing as the web-slinging hero. The film's main narrative will revolve around the burgeoning MCU multiverse as Doctor Strange's Benedict Cumberbatch tampered spell apparently exposes Earth to threats from other universes. The second trailer further expands on this, featuring more detailed appearances from the iconic Spider-Man villains like Doc Ock, Alfred Molina, Green Goblin William Dafoe, and Electro Jamie Foxx, among others. Unfortunately for many fans, the strongly rumoured Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield cameos as previous versions of the Wall Crawlers were nowhere to be seen. Screen Rant was in attendance at the fan trailer reveal event in LA, at which Holland also made a surprise appearance. The actor joined, well, it wasn't a surprise, was it? The actor joined the crowd in watching the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer and later took some questions from those in attendance. One fan in the audience asked what Holland wants to teach young Marvel fans for his version of Spider-Man. Holland had a very topical answer, capping it off with the iconic Spider-Man movie, Great Responsibility line. Fan: what are you hoping to teach young Marvel fans through your character? Holland: that with great power comes great responsibility. We have a responsibility to do the right thing, help out our neighbour, look after one another, and that's exactly what Spider-Man stands for. So with great power comes great responsibility. The specific line is widely attributed to Uncle Ben, as shown in Sam Raimi's 2002 Tobey Maguire-led Spider-Man. However, since Marvel Studios has yet to show fans the MCU's version of Ben, yes, I have a theory, the character hasn't been used in the franchise. Instead of rehashing the web-slinger's origin story, which has been told in previous movies, it doesn't matter. It's a great origin story. Just do it, man. Even if you do it in a fucking flashback, is acceptable. Marvel boss Kevin Feige and his team opted to skip it entirely in Holland's version. It was a mistake, focusing on the hero's subsequent superhero journey instead. The closest Holland Spider-Man came to talking about his backstory was in Captain America Civil War, when he explained to Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., what his goals are as a hero. It's interesting to consider whether the MCU's Uncle Ben actually uttered the same line to Peter. Perhaps this is something that will be fully explored in the upcoming prequel animated Disney series Spider-Man Freshman Year. Is that supposed to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man or just another one? I'm not sure. Spider-Man No Way Home is supposed to cap off Holland's MCU movie trilogy. Holland himself has dubbed the movie as a culminating narrative that brings 3 generations of Spider-Man movies together. However, amidst all of its multiversal elements, whether the upcoming blockbuster will reveal the franchise's version of Uncle Ben remains to be seen. While there have been a lot of references to the beloved character in previous projects, many fans still want to see him properly established in the MCU and hear him once again utter his iconic Great Responsibility line. Very interesting. I think, look, this might contradict, because I'm not very good with remembering everything about movies. I have got this really bad brain and memory. But anyway, you can correct me down in the comments down below if I'm wrong. I believe Uncle Ben is actually still alive. I believe he's out there somewhere. I believe we're going to see him in Spider-Man No Way Home. It might not be his version. It may be from another multiverse. It might be from another Earth, should I say, from the multiverse. But I believe there will be an emotional moment between Uncle Ben and, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, Peter Parker. This is problematic to me, by the way. They'll make it work. It will still be satisfying and emotional. But the point is, these are things you feed in from 3 movies. This is the thing, one of the many things that these 2 movies thus far, and I'm sure I talk about the 3rd movie as well, even though I haven't seen it yet, have lacked emotion, kind of characterizations that are important. Because of the MCU obsessing over being light, funny and fluffy for the kids and the families, this is what it lacked. You could have easily done this origin story quickly in a flashback. You could have made it interesting, right? It doesn't matter how many times we've seen it. This is a new Spider-Man and you need that origin. It's important. And not to have a Daily Bugle, not to have a Jameson, their own Jameson, not to have, Uncle Ben, I think is the heart of Spider-Man. It's what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, for fuck's sake. You need Alfred in Batman. You need Jonathan and Martha in Superman. Or for him to have been present in Superman's young life. These characters are so important to these iconic characters. And taking them away because you've got some weird idea of old white men or some stupid shit like that, whatever your fucking reason is, it was a mistake. The MCU works very differently. Marvel Studios work very differently to other franchises and other films. Everyone talks to each other. Everything has to be part of that same universe. These are Kevin Feige's rules, and Tom Holland kind of details this here. Very interesting stuff, by the way. Tom Holland reveals Spider-Man No Way Home BTS chaos. Spider-Man No Way Home looks like it involved a lot of pre-planning, but turns out the script was constantly changing even during production. By Rachel Abernathy of Screen Rant. Production on Spider-Man No Way Home was so chaotic, the script was being rewritten as filming progressed. The MCU has enjoyed an eventful year after taking 2020 off, and it will close 2021 out with a massive theatrical event in Spider-Man No Way Home. Directed by John Watts, the third and potentially final MCU Spider-Man movie will find Peter Parker, Tom Holland, grappling with the ramifications of his identity being revealed to the world. As the pressure gets to be too much, he turns to Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch, for a solution. But when his spell goes terribly wrong, the multiverse is split wide open. So paves the way for No Way Home's main event, the returns of numerous past Spider-Man actors stemming from Sam Raimi's trilogy and Sony's Amazing Spider-Man series. Though most eyes have been turned to the question of whether Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield will turn up, there's been a great deal of more information regarding the villains, as this week's Spider-Man No Way Home trailer confirmed. Those like Green Goblin, William Dafoe and Lizard will be popping up alongside Electro, Jamie Foxx, and Doc Ock, Alfred Molina. With so many characters at play in Spider-Man No Way Home, one might assume the plot was carefully mapped out well before filming began. Not so. According to a new profile on Holland from GQ, production was rather chaotic due to uncertainty over the cast and scheduling right before filming began. Some key actors hadn't signed on, and their absence would have impacted the entire plot. It sounds like they had a bit of trouble with Andy Garfield and Tobey Maguire. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe they weren't sure they could get them. And I think this was the problem. I think these two actors were very dubious about joining from the very beginning. And probably they didn't like the scripts. They didn't like what was going to happen in it. And probably some changes had to be made before they both agreed to be involved. That's what I'm seeing reading between the lines. Some people were trying to figure out whether they wanted to do it. Yes, Toby and Andy, obviously. And we needed all of them, or none additionally. The decision to move No Way Home before 2022's Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness changed the story, which was still being altered once filming actually did begin. Holland recalled, "You could ask the director what happens in Act 3, and his response would be, 'I'm still trying to figure it out.'" You mean Kevin Feige is? One has to hope all these last-minute rewrites won't show in the finished product. Like most MCU movies, Spider-Man No Way Home's place on the release calendar matters because its story will likely impact other films. This one in particular will probably have some major implications, it will, for other movies since it delves so strongly into the multiverse. Story adjustments due to scheduling changes must be frustrating, but in the case of the MCU, they are also necessary. The casting component to all this will surely raise some eyebrows among fans, particularly those still holding out hope that Maguire and Garfield will turn up. By the time filming began, the cast had to have been secured, but even then Watts and his team were flying by the seat of their pants. Spider-Man No Way Home has the potential to be the biggest Spidey movie yet, and fans can decide for themselves next month if the hasty rewrites paid off in the end. Fingers crossed that they do. It just seems like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire were having some debates with Feige and maybe not happy, as I say, about their characters. Hopefully this doesn't affect the movie, because this movie has to work. Because although box office has been great, as usual for the MCU movies, people are not exactly singing their praises to the skylines. Final article for today, then we'll talk about Hollywood and toxic masculinity. Green Goblin No Way Home trailer theory debunked by 4K alt version. I never believed that we were going to get the original OG Green Goblin in this, and I'm actually talking about the original Harry Osborn from the Raimi era. While Spider-Man No Way Home's new trailer seemed to include Harry Osborn's Goblin, an HD shot from the 4K version debunks the villain rumour by Simon Gallagher of Screen Rant. While there has been speculation that Harry Osborn's new Goblin appears in Spider-Man No Way Home, the second trailer for Spidey's next MCU chapter actually confirms he's not involved. The figure who was supposed to be James Franco's Spider-Man 3 villain is in fact William Dafoe's Norman Osborn, albeit with a new look. Yeah, that's fine. Now, I could be wrong. I would love him to be in it. I'd love Franco to be in this, but he's a bit of a disgraced actor these days for one reason or the other. Don't really want to go into it. It's not interesting to me or you. We want to talk geek and nerd, right? But wouldn't it be great if both these versions of Goblin unite together as father and son? Who knows? Or maybe Dafoe's one unites with the other Green Goblin from Amazing Spider-Man 2. That version. That would be cool too. Since No Way Home's trailers revealed the long-expected return of some of Spider-Man's Sonyverse villains, the truth of the multiverse bad guys appearing was Marvel's worst-kept secret. William Dafoe was spotted on set, Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus was confirmed, Jamie Foxx outed his involvement on Instagram, and then finally the trailers and posters confirmed the returns of Lizard and Sandman. The second Spider-Man No Way Home trailer now contains even more firm evidence that Green Goblin, Fox's new look Electro, Thomas Hayden Church's Sandman, and Rhys Ifans' Lizard are all back. But there remained questions and speculation on even more villains. The second Spider-Man No Way Home trailer conspicuously included what appeared to be a second Green Goblin unmasked and wearing goggles, similar to the look of Franco's Spider-Man 3 villain. The unmasked look even prompted some suggestions that Dane DeHaan was returning for No Way Home. But the 4K version of the trailer reveals that the rumours of a Harry Osborn new Goblin appearance are wide of the mark. The second Green Goblin is in fact William Dafoe unmasked and wearing an alternate armour on his Goblin glider. I'll put this right at the end of this article. They're saying there's no second Green Goblin. I don't agree. This doesn't disprove anything, and I'll tell you why after the article. Given the way No Way Home has been marketed, it's not particularly surprising that some fans would hear the sound of hooves and imagine the source to be zebras, seeing a noticeably different looking character for a very short, high-speed shot, particularly when Green Goblin is wearing a face mask similar to James Franco's new Goblin and not the full mask Goblin head from Raimi's Spider-Man movies, was always going to elicit speculation, but the HD trailer clearly shows that it's Dafoe in the second Green Goblin armour that was revealed as part of a pre-release costume leaks that appeared on Twitter. Quite why Osborn changes his outfit from the classic Green Goblin look he's seen in elsewhere in the trailer is anyone's guess, but at least it allows Dafoe the chance to really perform as Osborn. The thing is here as well, this could be another version from another Earth in the multiverse as well, so do have that under consideration as well. So I think this is the mock-up of Dafoe's costume, if you see there. Pretty cool. Frankly, I can't believe it. The fucking article went right to the start, you twats. Anyway. Basically, I've lost the article. It doesn't matter. We're not going to stop. So let me explain to you. The article was nearly finished anyway, so don't worry about it. So let me explain to you why I think they're wrong. Actually found the last bit, so let's read this because this is important in making my point against what they're saying. Frankly, bringing back either version of Harry Osborn for Spider-Man No Way Home would have been somewhat underwhelming. What? Why do these journalists get these weird ideas? I suppose everyone's entitled to their opinion. Neither ranks particularly high in the Spider-Man movie villains gallery. Really? Oh, and though Lizard and Electro arguably aren't top level either, both deserve a second chance after the way the Amazing Spider-Man movies fudged their villains. I don't think they were fudged. That's your opinion. Detracting with another Goblin would have just been a misstep when there will be a big enough battle for screen time in Spider-Man No Way Home already. Right, let's dispose what this person said. So what's your name? So this is Simon Gallagher. So, well written, Simon, but I don't agree with you. Because just because one shot has been disproven to be the Raimi Harry Osborn and it's not the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Harry Osborn in that sequence, it doesn't mean that both these versions of Harry Osborn won't be in Spider-Man No Way Home. This would be a great thing for fans. You've already got a multitude of villains, so the overcrowding thing has gone out the fucking window. You might as well just go with it, right? Why not have both of these versions? It'll be a lot of fun. The problem is James Franco, as I said earlier, is a bit disgraced, and I'm not sure if Disney are going to touch him with a barge pole. We'll have to wait and see. But if things were okay, and Disney were okay with him coming back, why not? And the other guy as well, I thought he was great in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. At least bring him back. I don't think, it's not a deal breaker for me. I just don't agree that it'll be underwhelming to bring Harry Osborn into this movie. Harry Osborn is actually a very, very important character. Another character that Fate decided not to use. Another big mistake. I don't know about you, but the term toxic masculinity really upsets me. It breaks my heart. When you talk about toxic masculinity, it feels like you're sending a personal attack my way. But while laying in bed this morning with a cup of tea, I decided to look at it from Hollywood's point of view and the extreme left's point of view. Why is their commentary in their movies and TV shows always about toxic masculinity? Recently, Eric Kripke spoke about The Boys Season 4, whatever it is, and he was saying that it would be talking and having commentary about toxic masculinity. The truth is that The Boys was always about toxic masculinity. Literally, that superhero team is the big Hollywood executives and the way they treat people. You know, they're not heroes, they're brutal and they pretend to be heroes. That's what he's doing there. That's what the original graphic novel was doing as well somewhat. But let's look at why Hollywood and the entertainment industry are obsessed with toxic masculinity. In James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, as I've tried to explain to you before, because a lot of you don't get this and haven't noticed this, Peacemaker and Bloodsport are toxic males, right? That's why he has Bloodsport scared of rats, to mock the straight macho guy, right? That's the whole point. Peacemaker is a kind of alt-right type of character. Again, it's very political, but they're both males, right? In that sequence from the Peacemaker series on HBO Max, those people, which pretty much are women and minorities, are laughing at this straight white dude because he's got a goat or whatever he's got in the car. It's mock the straight white male. Do you get it? Do you get what's going on here? So they do this a lot, but it's not enough for them. And Ewan McGregor was talking about this during the marketing of Birds of Prey. He was saying, we want to teach men about toxic masculinity and want them to think about their behaviour. But what about your behaviour? What about the behaviour of the entertainment industry? It's like, it's not me, governor, it's the others. But why are they obsessed with it? That's the question. I want to answer this question to you. I've spent 6 months in Hollywood. I know how these people think. Right, firstly, there's some lovely, wonderful people in Hollywood. Actors, people who work on the sets. Look, all round. Executives, everyone. There's some great, wonderful people. I was, an English, Greek, Cypriot man on my own over there. Anything could have happened to me. And I was taken in by a couple from the industry. And they really looked after me, And if it wasn't for them, I probably would have come back sooner. Anyway, so what is the issue here? Well, since the beginnings of Hollywood, straight white males have been running the empire of Hollywood. And mostly, and even now to a point, they've been running it with an iron fist. They treat their talent disgustingly. There's sex for favours, and if you don't do it, you're out of Hollywood. If you don't do what they want you to do, if you're on a set and you don't do as you're told, if you're not comfortable with doing something, they will destroy you. They will get rid of you. And this is what they're talking about when they're talking about toxic masculinity. But there's other things that happen in Tinseltown, dark things, bad things that I don't really want to go into because I can't prove them. But the point is, when actors and writers and directors talk about toxic masculinity, they're not really talking about me and you lads. They're talking about the toxic masculinity in Hollywood and the despicable things these guys have done to them. And that's why it's in their films. But here lies the problem. It's like Hollywood are having a civil war with each other, Me Too and all of this. But it comes across like we're being attacked. And of course the Trump thing is part of all of this as well. And I understand that. So in their films now, they're obsessed. Like when I was growing up, there was, in films there'd be commentary about nuclear disarmament, which is important, you know, talking about if wars are right or wrong, you know, Oliver Stone is a pacifist. He did a lot of movies showing you, you know, the consequences of war. So it's always been there. Well, now instead of talking about homeless people, starving people, people in the third world, they're talking about toxic masculinity. They're having a war with each other because Hollywood is a toxic place, mostly thanks to these powerful men. And that's why people in Hollywood seem to hate men. But in truth, they're not talking about all of us, even though it comes across that way. It's because the extreme left don't know how to talk. So it comes across really, really toxic. I'm just trying to explain the situation. But here's the thing. Most of the people who go to the cinema, buy the Blu-rays, the DVDs, buy the T-shirts, the posters, and pay for the, you know, the subscriptions on the streaming services are me and you. Straight dudes who they attack all the time. It comes across like they hate their own customers. What they do in their, you know, subject matter, in their content. It looks like they're attacking us directly. And, you know, when we talk about The Last Jedi and people were saying straight white dudes didn't like it, we know it was more than straight white dudes or Russian bots who didn't like it. I was very constructive about The Last Jedi. It underwhelmed me. It bored me. That's it. It just made me not be interested in Star Wars for a while. I've always said that. I didn't go ranting about it. You know, Justice League is a terrible fucking film for many, many reasons, but I don't bore on about it and I don't attack Joss Whedon because he's part of the problem because he shouldn't have taken the gig in the first place, especially once he knew what was going on. Maybe he didn't know what was going on till it was too late, but I don't think that's the case because Zack says he was even on set. He was there as a consultant even when Zack was working on it. So a bit like what happened with Richard Lester. He was on set so he could talk to the Salkinds because Salkind and Donna weren't talking anymore. So it's a similar situation, by the way. Amazing how history can repeat itself. So next time they talk about toxic masculinity, just remember they're not necessarily talking about you. It's hard, it's difficult, but what I would say to the entertainment industry, it's time to stop. Because it's not entertaining, it's not the most... I understand there are men in this world and in the entertainment industry that commit crimes, who create terrible acts towards women and other people, illegal acts. I know that. I understand what you're talking about, but you must put it in a different way because it sounds like you're attacking every single man. And that's not a good look, Hollywood and the entertainment industry. It really isn't. This has been the DCEU MCU Movies TV Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button so you never miss this perfection. And I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU MCU Movies TV Daily. Until then, check out this video. Check out the other two I'm going to do. The Doctor Who Daily should be up by now. And, of course, the MUFC Daily. If you love the English Premier League, if you love Manchester United, we're talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer again. Anyway, I'll see you again tomorrow. Till then, au revoir.